Hello, my loves. If you are a female, you travel or you're a digital nomad, or you want to travel or want to be a digital nomad, and you want to have a conversation about how to manage loneliness, what it's like to date while you're traveling, and how to heal heartbreak as you travel, you are not going to want to miss this incredible conversation with Gabi, who is a solo female travel expert, as we dive into conversations about what it's like to travel solo as a female, how travel can help you heal a breakup, how to overcome loneliness when traveling alone, and what it's like to date as a digital nomad and traveler. And as a digital nomad myself, we really do explore these topics in depth. So if you also want to be a part of this conversation, you are not going to want to miss this episode. So without further ado, let's dive in with Gabi. Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives, so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I am so excited to welcome Gabi onto the podcast today. So join me in welcoming her. Gabi is a solo female travel expert, and she's founder of Females Flying Solo, which is a travel community that also hosts female-only group trips to bucket list places all over the world for women who want to travel. Gabi is on a mission to help more women feel confident and happy through transformative travel experiences and connection with other women. So Gabi, hello and welcome onto the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. This is so excited. I'm so
It is,
excited.
yes. And I met Gabi, gosh, was it about 3, 4 years ago now, Gabs, where we met
Yeah.
Chiang Mai, where you were just beginning your journey. Like
Mm,
Females Flying Solo was not even born yet, and you were in this space of trying to figure life out, right? And
yeah.
being in Thailand and doing that. So that's where I want to start. Tell us
Yeah.
about you. Tell us about your journey and why you are passionate about solo female travel.
Oh, thank you for that introduction. I really appreciate it. Um, well, around 3.5 years ago, my solo travel journey started. That's where it started in Thailand. And like you can probably, I mean, when we first met, I was like a broken girl that just had no idea what she was doing. I sort of went through a bit of a breakup. I'm not going to say heartbreak. It was just more of like a realization that me and this person aren't meant for each other. And I was also at a time when I wasn't really in like a good job. It was like a toxic corporate 9 to 5, just getting bullied by my bosses. It was getting out of COVID time in the UK. And I just kind of had enough and I just wanted to escape. I wanted to like really live life and feel a little bit free. But I was scared. I didn't really know how to solo travel. I didn't really know solo traveling was like a thing. You couldn't really solo travel because half the world was still shut off. But I'd visited Thailand before previously. So I just started looking for jobs online. And then I found a job working in like an addiction treatment center in Chiang Mai. My background was always in psychology. So I was like, this is going to be great. I can work, live in a different country, work whilst getting experience. And then I applied, and 2 weeks later, I was just on this plane on my way to Chiang Mai, not knowing a single soul there. And I think like after a few weeks, I arrived, me and you went for like a coffee, and I was just like, oh, this is so scary. Um, and that's kind of where my solo travel journey began. And yeah, so there was a few things that sort of pushed me towards having that experience.
I love that, Gabs, because It's the same with my story, and a lot of people that I talk to all around the world really about travel. It's always that something that
Mm,
initiates our journey, whether it is a breakup or just a realization that we want more from life, that we want to be able to experience more. And where we are currently at in our jobs, in our relationships, are just not fulfilling us anymore.
yeah.
Right? Do you see this a lot with the kind of women that you see on your trips as well, that they are going through something, or are they just making it a lifestyle?
No, 100%. I would, on a daily basis, I get messages from women saying, I'm going through a heartbreak, I'm not feeling fulfilled, or no, I hate my job. Like, how do I do what you're doing? Like, how do I just go and travel and experience that world for myself? So it is definitely something I see all the time, like whether it's in my DMs or whether it's actually on the group trips. I think a lot of women do have that uh thing in common when they, have that desire to like want to go and travel and see something outside of their own hometown.
Yeah. And for me, traveling, I left that 8 year narcissistic, toxic relationship,
Yeah.
and that's what really launched me into my journey. But it was so transformative. Like I completely changed as a person. And I'm curious about your journey there as well. Why do you feel like travel in and of itself, whether you speak from your personal experience or what you've seen, like why do you feel like it's such a transformative journey for a lot of us?
I mean, for a lot of us, we've spent time just in our hometown, never really like left. Maybe on like holidays and stuff, but you don't really leave to like go travel or experience something different. And all of a sudden, if you do go for that experience, you're seeing things that you didn't think existed, just you're smelling things you've never smelt before, you're hearing about things you've never experienced before, and you're pushed into situations that are so incredibly out of your comfort zone, and you're like just have to deal with it. And it's where that growth happens, it's where those realizations come to surface. I always kind of say I don't necessarily think that traveling or solo traveling is, it just acts as like a catalyst, right? It's that situation of being out of your comfort zone. Maybe it isn't for everyone. Some people can experience these transformations and shifts doing other things, but I think for a lot of people it is that it's so out of our comfort zone and out of like what we're used to. That's what makes us grow so much and experience those, like we would say those transformative experiences.
Yeah, you're totally right there. And environment has a big part to play in it, doesn't it? I remember
Mm,
having that realization that even though I was doing some form of healing work during those 2 years from the breakup until I left for Thailand, I felt like there was a glass ceiling for me personally because of the environment. And I knew that I needed to put myself somewhere different
yeah,
to continue to expand and evolve. Right? And I think that's the beauty of what travel can offer us as
yeah.
well. So I'm curious, what's next on your journey where you started this business, where you made it your life's work, that you wanted
Yeah.
to promote solo female travel? Like, I would love to know why you're so passionate about it.
Um, it's because of that transformation, honestly. Like I got to a point where I moved for a job, and all of a sudden I found myself in a completely different environment. I didn't actually work in that place for too long because I actually felt like I felt the confidence and the independence of being able to make my own decision and be like, I'm going to quit and I'm going to travel a little bit and take that time for myself. And that's actually okay. That isn't, I don't need to be in that constantly pressure of having a job. I can take a month out or something. Like financially, I was able to at the time. Um, and yeah, and then I just started traveling. A month turned into 2 to 3 to a year. And I was just growing so much. Like the transition and was just insane. I went from when I arrived in Thailand on day one, I just had like zero confidence, zero self-esteem, had no independence. And also like I wasn't resilient to anything. Like prior at home, when I'd never solo traveled or ever did anything by myself, the smallest situations I would just freak out and stress over and wouldn't be able to cope with like emotionally. But all of a sudden I was in this situation, I was solo traveling, and I kind of had to deal with it. And it's made me so resilient, so grateful to be experiencing those things. And I got to a point, I was like, I can't be the only one that needs this. Like, I can't, there must be other women who were in a similar position as me who also need to experience this and want to. And I was searching so far for like communities, and there was nothing really that existed like this. And I was like, there must be women who need this, and there must be women who have also gone through this. So like, why not try and create something to bring these women together, to you know, make a space for those conversations to be had, so that women that have gone through this experience like me could share that knowledge and help other women, and women who desire that can ask for that help and advice. So I just started a Facebook group. The Facebook group grew, then it turned into like an Instagram page, and then that's kind of when I started doing the group trips and sort of moving that online community to in person, so that we could have those conversations in person, but also doing that experience at the same time together. And really, yeah, it's just helped. Yeah, I just wanted to share that journey of how travel has allowed me to become more confident with other women.
And it's been such a pleasure to watch your journey unfolding over these last couple of years, really. I feel like a proud big sister sometimes when I see you
Oh,
doing your thing and having so much success. It's so
thank
amazing.
you.
Yes, we do need something like
Yeah.
that. I think it's such a privilege now in today's society as women that
Mm,
we get to travel alone. Like,
yeah.
could our mother's generation, not definitely not our grandmother's generation,
No.
right, have that for themselves? So what a privilege, what a freedom that we get as women to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about maybe some of the at the other side of
Yeah.
all the benefits and the amazingness of solo female travel. What do you feel like are, I don't want to use the word downfalls, but what is kind of on the other side? Do you ever get lonely or afraid as you're traveling alone?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, there are so many downsides. Well, like I said, not downsides, but there is the other side of things, like the downfalls, as you say,
Let's call them
it
challenges. I like
challenges. That's the word. That's the better word. Yeah, you do get lonely and you miss your family, and things go wrong, when you're kind of with a group of people and you're traveling, you've got someone else to sort of be like, oh, if you've missed something, there's someone there to pick you up. But when you're on your own, like you there are moments when you are in like a constant state of alertness, because you're literally having to, you know look out for your own life, just little things, like even if it's like missing a flight, things that have happened to me, and I'm like, oh my God, like I have to deal with this by myself now. Like there's no one holding my hand. Um, and yeah, just loneliness for sure is one. Um, in terms of like friendships as well, I think something that people don't talk about enough is like meeting people is amazing. It is the best thing ever, but you also meet some people that don't really align with you, that are going to challenge you, that you will have conflict with. And the people that you do find along that journey that you love, they leave, and you have to say goodbye to them. I'm in a position now, I have the most incredible support network, but it's all spread all over the world, and it's really difficult because I've gone through a phase where I've solo traveled so much, and now I'm like, I don't have that many friends at home. Like I have my family, which I'm grateful for. So it's kind of like, where do I fit in now?
Mm.
I've been traveling for 3 years. Where do I fit in? I don't really fit in at home anymore. That's what it feels like. Um, but where do I fit in? Where do I belong? And I know that's just my experience as well. That's how I'm sort of feeling at the moment.
Of course, of course. And it's something to note, right? Because I also am in a very similar position now where I don't feel like I have any solid friendships at home
Mm,
because I'm on a different journey. My life is taking a completely different trajectory because everyone at home is married and got children, and that's amazing, but that's not what's happening in my life. And I think that's the most amazing thing about being in certain countries like Chiang Mai in Thailand and Bali, where you're at
yeah,
currently, these hot spots, as I call them, right? Where
yeah,
they have these communities where we can connect to other women who are in their late 20s, early 30s, even late 30s, early 40s that are living a solo life and they're single, or maybe they're not,
yeah,
but they are living a different type of life to what they have been said to, that they have to lead back at
yeah,
home, that they have to have that 9 to 5 and the marriage and the kids. So if we were to have somebody listening right now who has that desire, she really wants to be able to travel, but a lot of my listeners will be afraid to because they have this subconscious
yeah,
and belief that of being alone. And I know that
yeah.
you recently shared a post about that
Mm.
as well, which I absolutely love because
Oh,
yes,
thank
we
you.
do need to talk about this more
Yeah,
about being alone. And I think it's a whole worldwide societal problem.
yeah,
Loneliness, being alone. We are more connected and disconnected than ever before. I hear it from, I would say, nearly all of my clients as to why they want a relationship is because they feel alone. The
yeah,
same with women who want to travel. I get, well, I would love to do that, but I'm so afraid of being alone. I'm being
yeah,
lonely. I would rather do it with somebody. I'd rather
yeah.
wait until I have that partner or best friend who says yes. So I wonder what you would say to those women.
So I always start with kind of to set you need to separate aloneness and loneliness, right? Because aloneness is the physical state, right? It really is the physical state, whereas loneliness is more the emotional state, right? So I could be surrounded by a group of people, but if I feel socially disconnected from them, I can feel lonely. However, I can be on my own and I'm physically alone, but I feel a connection with myself. That's when you don't feel lonely. You feel that solitude. So I think firstly that we need to really start looking at like separating the difference between the physical state of aloneness and like the emotional state of loneliness. And then the other thing I would say is like you have to just take it really step by step, even if it's just, going for a coffee, going and spending 10 minutes outside on your own, 15 minutes outside on your own, because some people, yeah, they might be able to just pack their bags and book a flight halfway across the world, but I don't think that's a reality for a lot of people. It's for me, it was never like that. I always kind of knew, okay, I do want to solo travel and do things on my own in the future. So I would do things by myself. And it was actually during COVID when I wasn't with my partner because we physically couldn't be around him. So I started doing a lot of walks on my own, like probably most of the UK did. And I was like, oh my God, I can spend time on my own. Whereas previously I would have never even thought to leave the house and go on a walk by myself. And then I kind of was like, okay, well, if I can leave to go on an hour walk by myself, I can like maybe go into the city by myself, and go and grab a coffee and then go and like sit in a restaurant, So it's like taking those steps to build up that confidence. And ultimately, confidence comes from doing one thing that pushes you a little bit out of your comfort zone and being like, oh, I can do this. And then challenging yourself a little bit and then a little bit, it's a process. So I would always say just start small, start with one thing.
Yeah, love that, Gabs. And I've been on my own journey with loneliness because the loneliest I have ever felt in my life was in that 8 year relationship. And I've also changed the way I look at it. Loneliness has such a like disempowering energy to it. It's like,
Mm,
oh, I'm so alone in the world. When the reality is, you may not be, right? You may
yeah,
have a support system in your family. It's just in the moment you feel disconnected. So
yeah,
I've started, instead of saying I feel lonely, I started saying I feel disconnected.
yeah,
Then the next question from that would be like, okay, how can I reconnect? How
yeah,
can I reconnect with myself or maybe others or even God?
Yeah.
Because on my journey, looking back, I hated my own company. I
Mm.
couldn't be alone. And I come from a big family. So there was always people around. There was always things and people to distract me from feeling lonely.
Yeah.
Whereas when I started to travel by myself, it hit me hard, like a ton
Yeah.
of bricks. And I felt so lonely to the point where I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is crazy. I need to get back on that plane. But I really believe that God sends us these challenges
Yeah.
because he wants us to sit with the uncomfortableness. He wants
Mm.
us to feel the triggers, feel
Yeah.
the activated wounds that we feel within, because it goes deeper than just being by
Yeah.
yourself.
For
You know, it's
sure.
deeper than just feeling surface level disconnection. There's
Yeah.
something there that is that
Yeah.
is so painful and uncomfortable. And until we put ourselves in uncomfortable situations and
Mm.
environments, we cannot. And I think that's my
Yeah.
motivation for moving, because there was only so much that I could heal and see in my current
Yeah.
environment.
And I totally relate to that as well. And whenever I like at the beginning of like my solo travel journey, I experienced loneliness. The one thing that saved me, well, two things, is journaling and practicing gratitude. Because practicing gratitude, I was like, it just allowed me to always think of something to be grateful for. And journaling allowed me to like reflect on, okay, I'm feeling lonely, but like why? Like, what am I missing? Like, is there certain people, is there certain things that people did that, you know, that didn't make me feel lonely? And it was like, you know, a feedback loop. I would journal, have a breakthrough, then journal, and then have a breakthrough. And then ultimately, over time, it actually allowed me to let go of relationships that didn't serve me as well, you know, for the better. Um, just because of that reflection process, just because of sitting that in loneliness. And now I feel like my life is so beautiful, blessed with people that like actually bring so much into my life, and that you know, they're just amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And again, we get sent these things, right, to keep
Yeah.
challenging us, to keep growing us. We're always going to be sent challenges, I believe. It's whether we step up to the occasion,
Yeah.
whether we meet them or whether we dismiss them. And I think that's the beauty of living in a different country. It
Yeah.
challenges you, like you said, in ways that you wouldn't even think about being challenged back
Yeah.
in your home country. And I think that's why I
Yeah.
go to India and Nepal, because oh my goodness, is that challenging.
For sure.
So what would you say has been your most challenging experience, and how did you overcome that?
Oh my God, that is a tough one. Oh my goodness, my most challenging experience. I mean, financially, that has been definitely been a challenge, because you do get to a point where, I mean, I was sort of like traveling off of my savings, and this wasn't really something I had a plan. Um, so I had to just sort of find any way I possibly could to make money. Um, which ultimately is that I'm so grateful for that experience, because I would have never grown my business and my community now. And one, it was so motivated to start that. But also ultimately, I think another challenge that is a really difficult one is those criticisms from family or friends back home that are like, oh, you know, the comments you get from people like, oh, yeah, it's so sad that you're like traveling on your own. You know, when are you going to settle down? Like, oh, you're going on another trip. Like, you should start thinking about buying a house. You're being ridiculous. You know, get yourself together, sort of thing. Um, because I think in that moment, you like, it hurts because people aren't like acknowledging the growth that you've done, and they're trying to sort of like, um, I don't want to say like set you back, but I don't know. I think they just don't like understand. I mean, I still even get it now,
Hmm.
but that's definitely been a challenge for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of us go through that as digital nomads or solo
Yeah,
females. I know I especially do. And I think you're right in terms of like, yeah, they don't understand because it is a very
yeah,
new concept for women, as we've
for
been
sure.
talking about. But also I feel like they're triggered in some way.
Mm,
We live our lives, I believe. And
yeah,
when someone is passive aggressive in that way or challenges our decisions and our choices, we have to think about whether they're willing to look at themselves when they're doing that.
yeah,
They're triggered for a reason.
yeah.
And, that's what personal growth is all about, right? When we're being triggered, can we hold ourselves in the capacity where we can look within?
Mm,
Why am I so triggered? Why am I so triggered by Gabi living
yeah,
her life the way that she has chosen to live it? What is
yeah.
going on within myself?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time as well, it is a little bit of like insecurity because people a lot of the time say to me, like, I wish I could do that. I wish I could have that. And I'm like, or they say, like, you're so lucky that you, and I'm like, this isn't luck. Like, it's constantly showing up. It's constantly doing things that challenge me. It's putting habits in place. I didn't just wake up like this and just get handed a life where I'm living in Bali for 3 months, like I worked really hard to get here. Um, and a lot of people can have this life, it doesn't happen overnight. It really doesn't. You do have to put in the work and you have to be intentional for whatever it is, whether that's you want to go traveling for 6 months, whether you want to move to this country, whether you want that sort of job, like, and people aren't, like you say, they're not willing to look inward and they're not willing to do the work, whatever work that may be.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And I used to hear that a lot as well, where they look at what I'm doing or the choices I've made and they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I wish I did something like that
Mm,
when I was younger, or I wish I could do that. And then you challenge them back and you say, well, why don't you? And they're
yeah,
like, no, no, I cannot. So they're restricting themselves, but because you are smashing through your own limitations and restrictions, that's triggering for them
yeah,
because they don't know how to begin with their own.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, Gabby, let's talk dating, girl.
Oh, I've never discussed dating like really publicly on social media or anything. So this is
Ah,
like a
okay.
first.
Oh, okay. Well, just share what you feel
Mm,
comfortable with. Of course, don't feel pressured to divulge everything, but just share what you feel like is, helpful and essential here for our listeners. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I would love to know, how is it going for you and what's
Uh,
your experience dating as a traveler?
I feel like dating as a traveler is a blessing, but also a curse at the same time. Like it's so difficult. For me right now, it's interesting. It's non-existent basically, but I've been in a bit of like a 2 year situationship.
Wow.
So yeah. Oh yeah. So that I've recently got out of, I hope. But yeah, it's been quite a long time and I've done a lot of growth throughout those 2 years, but I met someone and obviously, as when you're traveling, you develop feelings, you develop connections, and people leave, then you leave, but then you come back, you might see each other somewhere else. So it's kind of like a never-ending cycle of that, especially if you're like a digital nomad and the other person who is also a digital nomad, they're traveling around. Maybe they don't have commitments at home like you do, because I don't like I like I don't really have a house, I don't have a car or anything. Like my biggest responsibility is just making sure I don't lose my passport. Um So sometimes you can meet people like that, and it is like a blessing and a curse because you make this wonderful connection and it can be really beautiful, but then they leave because they're also on their own journey, they're doing their own thing. Um, and it actually got initially it used to be that I wanted to be with him and I was willing to make compromises, and he was like classic avoidant, like nah, whereas I'm anxious.
Mm.
So I sort of did a lot of work on that, and then he came crawling back and he was like, well, I want you to be my wife, I love you and all of this, whereas and then I was like, wait, hang on, I want to, you know um so that's kind of where I've been up to recently. But in terms of dating, I haven't really dated. I'm quite fearful of it.
Mm.
I think it's because I'm trying to like maybe protect my own energy. I don't know. But I'm definitely got to a point like in the past 3 years when I first started solo traveling, I was like, you know what, like this is for me. I'm doing my own thing. Like, let's just have fun. I've gone through that phase. Whereas now I'm like, you know what? I know I can travel by myself. Like, I know I can do it. I know I could go to the X, Y, and Z country. I know that I've also built a community of women that want to do that. So I kind of have that to fall back, well, not to fall back on that as another form of travel. But ultimately, I just don't really want to travel on my own anymore. I am ready for like that connection. So like I am trying to call that in.
Mm.
Um, I don't feel like I'm 100% ready within myself. But like, is that even a thing? Is there such thing as 100% ready? Because like you're always gonna have work to do on yourself. But it is something that I'm trying to like call in. I don't
Mm.
want to be carrying my own bags through the airport anymore. Like, I want a man to be doing that for me now.
Oh, I totally get that. I just want somebody to watch my suitcase while I go to the toilet.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, I totally hear you, my love. Yeah, and I lost my train of thought.
Sorry. I feel like I went on a complete ramble then, but I was like, you know what? This is my opportunity to just be really like authentic and honest, and like that's really where I'm at. So,
Yeah, and
um,
thank you for sharing that with us.
yeah,
Like, it gives us an insight into how you're navigating your
yeah,
journey and experiences, right? And I feel like, yeah, sometimes we need to own that. We need to own that we want to call in a partner, and we feel
mm.
like on your note in regards to will we ever 100% be ready? This is the illusion that we sometimes tell ourselves as a way to protect ourselves, as
Yeah,
a way to maybe keep things at a distance is, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not 100%
yeah,
ready. And therefore, I need to do more work on myself. But
yeah,
actually, the relationship can be as healing as it is on
yeah,
our own as well. I feel
yeah.
like as long as we get ourselves to the point where we have released past pain and
Mm.
trauma, so we're not bleeding into our next relationship, we can continue to evolve and heal and grow
Yeah,
with that other person as
yeah.
well.
And that's exciting, isn't it? Like to be able to have these like deep and mind-blowing conversations with someone that you're sharing a life with. Like, I really want that. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. And I used to be the kind of girl that was like, well, I would like to have a partner, but I'm gonna be okay if I don't. I'm gonna be okay if I don't. And then I was like, actually, I want to stop saying that to myself because I feel like almost in a way I'll end up manifesting that.
Mm.
Whereas I want to manifest a loving, a supportive, a caring, a protective partner. And I feel like he's coming. He's on his way. And the more I've started saying that,
Yes.
he's on his way.
100%. And you're right. Whatever we speak into existence comes into fruition. So
Yeah.
we're telling ourselves, like, oh, it would be nice, but I'm fine on my own. It's kind of like this chill girl,
Yeah.
right? I'm cool. I don't need a man type of movement. Then that is going to be your reality,
Yeah.
you know?
Because then you're automatically looking for like faults and challenges, right? Whereas if you're saying, I'm really ready to call that in, you start then to look for signs and look for opportunities.
Yeah, you open your heart
Exactly.
more than it was before. And it's good to see that you're excited about it as well.
Mm,
And because another thing that I see a lot as well with us ambitious women, especially, is we want it to happen now. It's like, okay, I want it and I want it to happen now because we are so used to getting what we want,
yeah.
right? We're type A control freaks, really. But when it comes to matters of the heart, it really does need to be that leaning back and
Yeah.
more surrendering and trusting and knowing that this is going to come, that this is going to come. And I'm just going
Yeah.
to continue doing what I'm doing until it should so reveal itself.
Yeah.
Right? So that's
That
a
is, yeah. The best advice I ever received from one of my friends is like, just surrender, just surrender to whatever is happening and then beautiful things will happen. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, it's like we spend so much of our time worrying about things that haven't happened yet. And realistically, if this is, if I'm trying to call in, or anyone who's trying to call in a life partner, then why rush it? Because you're going to be spending the rest of your life with this person. So, why rush something like that?
Yes, 100%. So enjoy this time. I always say,
Yeah.
enjoy this time. Don't try to quicken up the process. And because you may be feeling lonely or unfulfilled without this person, he's coming. You can
Yeah.
chill, knowing
He's
that that is going to happen,
he's
and you
on his
can continue to
way.
enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Because I also like, yeah, when we come back to travel, I remember I had a moment where I was in the Philippines and I was sitting on the beach. I was by myself and I was sad. I
Mm.
was sad because I didn't have that partner. And
Yeah.
I remember I ruined my whole day because all I could think about was how lonely and sad I was that I'm by myself. And I had to have that experience. I had to work through
Yeah.
it because I was putting so much importance. I was putting so much power into someone who doesn't even exist, into a feeling,
Yeah.
to a thing that I wanted to have in my life that I completely forgot to look at all the
Yeah.
amazing things that were happening,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's a balance between really owning your desire,
Mm.
but surrendering the desire and
Yeah.
continuing to enjoy your life, right?
And also just like learning from that experience. So recently I went to like a concert on Friday and like I love music. I love going out, getting a little bit jolly, having a dance. And there was just so many couples there. And I was looking around and I was just getting so like, and I was like getting like, oh my God, like oh, that's so cute. Like I wish I had that. But then when you actually sit back and think about that, like, well, what is it about that situation that makes me feel that way? That is maybe something I am looking for in a partner, because there's other situations that I'm in that I'm surrounded by couples and I don't think, oh, I wish I had that
Mm.
because it's kind of maybe not something that like I enjoy or I want to do. So like I go and see couples playing paddle all the time in Bali, for example, and I'm like, doesn't really bother me that much that there's 10 millions of courts playing of couples playing paddle. Like, yeah, it's cute. So maybe that's not something that I'm looking for. But then the other thing is like going out and having shared experiences, enjoying music together, and being in that. Maybe that is something that I'm looking for.
Well, I think everybody is as
Yeah.
human beings, right? We're built for connection and we want to share the experiences that we're having with someone important.
Yeah.
And I have to think to myself sometimes, like, is it the partner or is it just having someone that I care about to share this with?
Yeah.
It could be a
Yeah.
friend, it could be a family member
Yeah.
as well, and I would have the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true
Okay.
actually.
Yeah. So, are there any other challenges that you feel like are present when it comes to dating as a digital nomad? I know we spoke about that everybody's kind of on their own journey and not
Yeah.
looking for anything serious or commitment. And in my experience as well, there is a lot of that because
Mm.
you travel for that intention. Do you feel like there's any other complexities or challenges that come up?
I think there's a lot of people that, yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what you say. There's a lot of like lost people that travel, and I was one of those people, and that's totally okay. And sometimes I guess people have like completely different intentions to you. So just kind of like filtering that out is quite hard. Um, yeah, I think it is difficult, because people are a little bit different. At home, you kind of like live in it's a little bit more serious, right? Because people have maybe different kind of jobs, they are working 9 to 5 and they have other commitments. Whereas here, a lot of the time, most people with Chiang Mai, Bali, like they live quite different lifestyles as well. I think that can also kind of be conflicting as well at times.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's funny actually when I think back to the time that I decided to pack my bags, pack in my job and move
Mm,
to Thailand. I did have this thought that I might meet someone.
mm,
Like part of the motivation for leaving was to find a partner, which is
mm,
crazy because on a conscious level, I feel like I wasn't there, but I was definitely a lot more anxiously attached back then. But I remember thinking to myself, there's no one here in Wales that I want to be with.
yeah,
Everyone's getting married and having kids, and I don't want that life. And I think in a way, it is beautiful that when we do travel to these communities and countries, that we do meet people that are on the same
yeah,
road as us, that are not looking for marriage and kids anytime soon, but are open to making
Yeah.
connections and having experiences. And I've definitely had my fair share of men in my life that have been in that role,
Yeah.
where we have had beautiful relationships that have developed into that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And sometimes those connections just really happen quite naturally, like really like just out of the blue, you'll find yourself speaking to someone and like you kind of almost realize only after that connection has happened, like not even intentionally on a date, like it could just be in like a social setting or something. Or and you're just like, oh my God, like your mind is kind of blown because you're kind of like, I mean, for me anyway, I have never really experienced a lot of connections like that with men in the UK, but I've always been in a relationship, so I've never had the opportunity to. So it's you're kind of like, oh my God, wow. And then that connection might develop into something different, but then again, that person leaves or you leave, and it's like, oh, it's hard.
That's the only thing, isn't it? It's quite transient sometimes
Yeah.
living in these countries. I wanted to ask you, Gabby, how do you feel about dating apps?
Oh my God, I am struggling at the moment. So I've never really enjoyed dating apps. Like I have so much to give. I have so much like joy and banter and everything like that. And I just like, I can't really communicate that across on a dating app. So I've always really struggled. But I've recently downloaded the Hinge last week and I've had no matches.
Oh dear.
And so I'm like I'm like oh my confidence is like slowly getting shattered because I'm like no one I'm like how is this possible? It's Bali. Surely there's people here that want to go on a date.
Mm.
And I'm like honestly on Saturday I was liking so many people. I'd run out of likes and not a single person matched with me. And I'm like
I think this is the thing about the apps. I personally do not like them and I don't use them, especially when we have opportunities to meet people
yeah,
person, more so here. But I get it. I get why the apps exist, and I know that a lot of people have found love on them. And I was
yeah,
looking into research the other day, and it's over 50% now. I would say close to 60% of couples met
mm,
online. So this is like the best way, according to research, to meet somebody.
yeah,
But what I'm also hearing on the other side, just like what you just said, is it shatters your confidence.
yeah,
It's exhausting. It's depleting.
yeah,
So yeah, you've got to think what are the benefits really of
mm,
using the apps, right? Knowing that, yeah, you can meet love online, but how is the process making you feel?
yeah. That's
Right?
the thing. Like for me, like I know deep down, I'm like, I don't really enjoy it. I don't feel like I'm giving my like, or like I'm sat here for like an hour trying to figure out how to answer a Hinge prompt. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like, I know I'm not gonna probably meet the love of my life partner on a dating app. However, I don't want to remove myself from the situation of being open. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's more like if I'm trying to call something in, I'm trying to like put in even little steps to show that I'm open, to
I
receiving
get what
that.
you're saying, yeah, but I'm also hearing I'm not going to meet the love of my life on these
I
apps.
know, I
You're
know.
going to, right? You're not
I'm
going to.
really contradicting myself. But
But I
when you just have like a gut feeling and you're like,
understand. Yeah. And I also believe like it's about the energy that you put
yeah,
in. Like I say this to a lot of my clients who are on the apps. I'm like, how do you feel when you're on the apps? And if they're like, oh, I'm just done with it, I don't enjoy it, like it's just a chore,
yeah,
then that's the energy that you're pouring into this thing.
yeah,
It's like anything that we do in our life, right? When you think about the work that you do, if you're not enjoying it, how is
mm,
that contributing to your life? And I feel like it's the same with the app. So I'm not saying don't use them, but maybe have a think about the intention and the energy you're
yeah.
putting into it.
That's the thing. It's like a skill. It's like finding a job, honestly. Like answering some of these, it's like literally writing a CV. And so it's like the process of it is quite like difficult. Like I would much rather find someone like bump into a man like I don't know, in a wine bar or like a jazz bar, like I'm trying to romanticize my life right now, but yeah,
Absolutely.
you
But that's
know,
the thing, it can happen that way. You just have to
yeah.
believe it. I have never met anyone off the apps. I don't use them
No,
that much, but I have done. And I have never met anyone from the apps. Everyone that I
no,
have met have been in an environment where I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's what I kind of did this on Saturday, this Saturday actually. I was like, okay, like I just want to go on a little bit more dates, get to know people, maybe figure out a little bit more of what I want, what I don't want. And then just nothing was happening. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? What's the next thing that I can do? And I was like, I'm gonna go to my favorite bar, have a pizza and drink some red wine. You never
Mm,
know. Someone might come and chat me up. They didn't, but I put myself in that situation with the intention, which meant I was opening myself up to maybe like an opportunity if someone was coming, you know, was to approach me. Maybe in the past I would have like shut that down,
mm.
but I've opened myself up for that.
Yeah,
So
I
just
love
gotta
it.
keep trying.
Absolutely. It's, you know, I think in today's society we're very much wanting that quick fix and speedy
Exactly.
thing to come into our life. But like anything worth having, it requires patience and it
Exactly.
requires, you know, a shift in energy and outlook as well. So
Yeah.
love that journey for you. And I'm excited to hear more as it progresses.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back to traveling as a
Yeah.
solo female. And I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what was your favorite country and why?
Oh, that is actually the hardest question because I feel like different countries give you different things, right? I mean, I always say Thailand is home. To me, that's where my journey began. Like, I'm sure you can probably relate to this as well. Like, Chiang Mai is home. No other place in the world will ever give me that feeling. I feel like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it because no other, like that's where you did the growth, that's where it all began. So for me that is home. um I love Bali. I think Bali is incredible. It gives you, well, for me it gives me a really good lifestyle. There's really good communities that you can get involved here. Where else have I solo traveled to? I really enjoyed, weirdly enough, Dubai. I just had like a really good experience there. um Yeah, I feel like it's a really those I would say are top three. Colombia, surprisingly, I also loved. So I was there partly by myself, partly on a group trip. Um, that country just has so much soul, but it is definitely one that you kind of have to be very aware.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, I found like different countries give you different things for sure.
yeah, different experiences. And what about your least favorite country and why?
Okay, Barcelona. Sorry, no, that's not a country, but Barcelona for me. Um, I've met so many women that loved it. They went on a solo trip and they loved it. And I'm not saying it was like terrible, but I don't know. It's a very busy city and I love cities as well. So I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna love it. But there's just a lot going on. There's quite a lot of like scams. There's a lot of pickpockets, and you do have to be quite alert and aware, especially for like the pickpockets. And I just found I spent quite a lot of my time feeling quite like anxious and on edge. And I don't like to feel that way. I
Mm,
also just think when I was actually in Barcelona, it's a really good place for like a girls trip or like a bit of a fun trip. So I was kind of like, I think I would enjoy this more with someone else. And that's okay. Like I'm totally fine with that because I think there are destinations like that and I didn't have a bad time. I just, yeah, maybe it was the point in my life where I was at. I was already done quite a lot of solo traveling and maybe I needed girls trips or but yeah, I wasn't really a fan.
yeah, and you touched upon the safety element there, because I think that's what a lot of us women have to think about if we're
Yeah.
going to travel alone as a solo female. So what's your thoughts on that, on keeping safe as a solo female?
Yeah. It's hard because I think safety is it's a really subjective topic, you know. So, you know, your background, your culture, like it all impacts the way that you view safety. But ultimately, I think you do just have to, as a woman, do your research on the destination so that you do have like, you know, you know everything about the destination, you know, the customs, the etiquette, that sort of thing. And also like in terms of like how, if you need to bring anything, you know, like Barcelona, it was like, okay, I don't really want to be walking around with like a designer bag. I would much rather have like my Uniqlo bag, you know, that sort of thing. But I would say the number one thing that you really have to do is just do the research and ask women who are similar to you know, like that might look like you, that come from a similar background, experiences like you know.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, I will also add to that though, to not look too much into the horror stories.
No,
Doing
no,
as a woman, right? We say we're doing the research, but we're actually reading all these
yeah,
horror stories from the news, and they're in the news for a reason because they're rare.
yeah,
And we then build up this picture in our mind that where we're going is this big, massive, scary place. But what I will
yeah,
say, I have been out of the country for more than 10 years now. And I say country as in Wales. I have never, like, nothing major has happened to me, touch wood,
yeah,
and I guess what I'm trying to say is there are more people, more good people out there than bad. I'm not
yeah,
saying
for
there's bad
sure.
people out there, but like you said, have your wits about you.
Mm,
So maybe choose a country that is safe just to start
yeah,
with, which would be Thailand.
absolutely.
Favorite
Absolutely. Gotta
country in
love
the
Thailand.
world. But if anything, on the flip side, now I've gotten so comfortable in Thailand and so loose, I guess, with my stuff and not having to think that I'm really having to think when I'm back in the UK or in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's and yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Okay, Gabi, I have one last question for you. And it is if someone's listening to this podcast and they're truly inspired and gotten all the information about traveling on their own, they've spent so long waiting to see if they could find a partner to do it with. And now they're like, no, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm going to go for it and I'm going to have the time of my life. But the fear is still there. We both
Yeah.
in our own journeys, right? What would you say would be the first step, the next step for this woman who is now really wanting to do this for herself, but that fear is still lingering there? What would be her next step?
Um, I would just think about like your intentions and like what you actually want out of a group, like out of a trip, like a solo trip, you know. Are you wanting to go like long term and just have like this whole travel experience, or you just wanting to do something short and spend some time reflecting on your own needs? So I would just be like really intentional. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be this like long 1 year trip. It could just be like a weekend away. You might just need time away and relax. Um, and just try and think about like what is it that actually scares you, you know, because people are afraid of different things, you know. Some women are afraid of men, for example, you know, approaching them and haggling them, whereas some women are afraid of the language barrier, you know. And just thinking about, well, what can I put in place, you know, if I am worried about the language barrier, what can I do to help myself with that? Can I learn a few extra phrases? Can I, you know, make sure I always have Google Translate? You can even get like a little pocket translator, or, you know, some women are afraid of getting lost, you know. Can you get a physical map? Can you download an offline map? That sort of thing. So I think really breaking down the fear, and ultimately just I think acceptance as well, that like feel the fear and do it anyway. Like there's still certain trips that I take now that I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so scared, but ultimately I have to like trust myself as a woman as well, that I've done the preparation to keep myself safe on that trip.
I love that. So, in summary, it's like small steps, right?
Yeah,
Maybe it starts with a weekend in your home country where you go by yourself. And instead of kind of jumping in the deep end and possibly drowning,
yeah,
just start in the shallow end. Just start
yeah.
swimming. Just
It's
start
like to
somewhere.
start. And
Love.
like I get so many women telling me like, oh my God, I'm so afraid to like get the public transport abroad. I'm like, okay, well, have you ever, when was this time you taken the public transport in your home country? Oh my God, I've never done that. And I'm like, well, start there. If you can't do it in a place that feels comfortable and safe, how are you going to do it abroad? You know, we're so used to kind of like a lot of us, like, especially in the UK, like driving to places, that we forget, like, okay, you can get the bus or you can get the train, you know, it doesn't have to be far, but just so you know how to read a timetable, how to read a map, you know, that instantly you're building that little bit of confidence, which is going to then help you when you're abroad.
Yes, expanding your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then you also said just noticing the obstacles, starting to identify the obstacles and overcoming them. And you're right, it can be the smallest of things sometimes. I remember asking myself, especially when I went to India for the first time, because I had this narrative that I can't go to India as a solo female. Like I have to go with a man. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not believing that anymore. I'm not giving that story any space. I'm going to go to India myself. But of course, I felt the fear. All right, what can I put in place that is going to make me feel more safe? And I had to weigh up, like, I am willing to spend more money because my safety is now a priority than saving
100%.
money. And I think sometimes we try to save money, but we put ourselves in these situations that don't make us feel safe or comfortable. And you have to ask yourself what's more important in that moment. So I pre-ordered my taxi, for example. It's a small thing, but I knew that there was going to be someone waiting for me at the airport. So yeah, I love that advice. All right. Is there any last inspiring words or advice that you have for our listeners in terms of just getting out there? Life's too short. Just go and live your life, those experiences. Don't wait for people to do what you want to do with your life. Do you have any last minute words for these wonderful women?
Just think, and when you're in like your rocking chair, you know, retirement, you want to be thinking, oh my God, remember when I did that, and not, oh, imagine what life would have been like if I did that, you know?
I got goosebumps because I mean, that kind of happened for me, you know, where I was with my grandmother while she was quite literally on her deathbed, and she was reeling out all her regrets of the things that she didn't do, and it broke me. It absolutely broke my heart. And I remember in that moment, I promised her and I promised myself that I am going to live life to the fullest. I am no longer getting in my own way. So I love that advice, Gabi, to just imagine. And it can be a bit morbid, but it can be very enlightening and inspiring. Well, imagine yourself in that rocking chair or on your deathbed. Will you be happy with the life that you lived?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, what a beautiful ending to this wonderful, incredible conversation. Gabi, thank you so, so much for coming on.
Thank you for
having this
having
chat with
me.
me. And if people want to know more about you, my love, where can they find you?
So you can find my personal social media pages at Gabs_explores for lots of travel tips and advice. And if you want to know about the Females Flying Solo community or come on one of our trips, it's at Females Flying Solo on Instagram. And we also have a Facebook group as well where you can join and ask lots of advice.
Amazing. And we're going to put all those links in the show notes below. So if you are interested in joining Gabi's incredible community, I am also a part of it. Then we will love to have you in those communities. And I promise you are going to be so held and supported on your journey as well by Gabi and the girls. Thank you again, Gabi, so, so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. I loved it. Loved every minute.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast.